So we're training up all these young adults to get certified as digital marketers, and then they are executing packages. So we have a marketplace. And we believe that mentorship is the key component that's been missing in education. And when we provide that, it's beyond just watching YouTube videos or taking courses and getting a diploma, which you cannot exchange for a job at the window.
Everything leads to growth with the National Association of Sales Professionals. The Leads to Growth podcast with the National Association of Sales Professionals provides in-depth discussions, sharing the best sales, prospecting, influence, and communication skills, as well as sales training techniques to take your professional sales career to the next level.
Great day, NASP listeners. Leads to Growth podcast back again. Chris McCoy here with my man Rick Middlemass of the Daily Dose and Coach Corner videos every day. We've got a very special guest with us today. Today we have Dennis Yu, the Chief Technical Officer of Blitz Metrics, a digital marketing company which partners with schools to train young adults, really doing some amazing things. Dennis' program centers around mentorship, helping students grow their expertise and manage social campaigns for enterprise clients like the Golden State Warriors, Nike, and Rosetta Stone. He's internationally recognized lecturer in Facebook marketing and has spoken in 17 countries, spanning 5 continents, including keynotes at L2E, Gultigan, and Market to Summit. Dennis is a rock star. He's been featured in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, LA Times, National Public Radio, TechCrunch, Fox News, CBS Evening News, so many more. Dennis taught over 700 colleges and universities. He's a regular contributor on Adweek, Social Times, as well as published Social Media Examiner, Social Media Biz, all kinds of other great stuff here. As Dennis has held leadership positions at Yahoo, American Airlines, studied finance and economics at Southern Methodist University, and has completed over 20 marathons, including 70-mile ultra marathon. Now that's the one I'm most impressed about, Dennis. Besides being a Facebook data geek, as you can tell from his shirt, and ad geek, you can find him eating chicken wings and playing ultimate frisbee at a city near you. Dennis, man, this is great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. An honor. We should eat some chicken wings and play some frisbee.
Oh, man. Eat some chicken wings and watch some basketball, some Warriors. Yeah. Rick's a Cleveland fan over here, so I'm actually in LA now, but we'll have to get over that.
So, Rick, you're still a Cleveland fan.
I don't know about that anymore.
So today, Dennis, we're going to be talking about 7 ways to get your customer to do the selling for you. And I'm sure our listeners are very eager to hear what you've got to tell us about today. Before we get started on this great 7 topics, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick brief intro on what you do over there at Blitz Metrics and just the great things you're doing for vets and kids these days, and your mission too.
So think of us as like the Uber for marketing, where there's a marketplace of supply and demand. And there's a huge demand of businesses that want to drive sales and leads, especially through Facebook marketing. And there's a supply of all these young adults that naturally have a credibility when it comes to things like social media and apps and video. So we're training up all these young adults to get certified as digital marketers, and then they are executing packages. So we have a marketplace. And we believe that mentorship is the key component that's been missing in education. And when we provide that, it's beyond just watching YouTube videos or taking courses and getting a diploma, which you cannot exchange for a job at the window. What a lot of young adults, when they graduate, they don't realize you can't just go to the window and, they 90% of them, they move back in with their parents, which is really kind of sad and scary at the same time. And this came 20 years ago because of my experience. When I graduated, it was a different world. And if it wasn't for my mentor, Al Casey, who was the CEO of American Airlines, I would have never gotten that start at American. And that would have never given me the opportunity to work with data and build websites and work on systems that then led me to Yahoo. And then from Yahoo, being an executive there, building data systems, analytics, running ads, to then doing it on Facebook when that opened up 11 years ago. And since then, we've grown to over 100 people. And we're reaching thousands of these students in a number of colleges. We're training up virtual assistants all over the world. Just prior to us chatting, I think I told you that we were in the Philippines a couple of weeks ago, training up a bunch of people. We have another event coming up in a few months. We'll have 500 of these Filipinos that are digital marketers, but they're learning how to use things in our process, in our training. And they start at $2 an hour, $3 an hour. And I can just imagine, right, when I came out of school, how would you feel, Chris, if you came out of school with a degree that you worked really hard for, or whatever you went to school with, Rick, or either you two, and you found that someone else could do that job better than you for $3 an hour? Willingly, happily, for $3 an hour. Competently.
That's a bummer. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're facing. And
Absolutely.
we want to help young adults overcome that. And if you think about like the Uber model, do you use Uber?
All day long.
Oh, yeah.
I Uber everywhere, right? And can you imagine? So those guys, if you're an Uber driver, your job is dictated by the app. The app tells you where to go. The app tells you how much you can make. There's no advancement. Whether you've driven for the first 10 times or you've driven, thousands of rides, you're not really learning. Now imagine if there was a training system that was sitting on top of a network, but for marketing, and that anybody could get paid, not just to do jobs and be able to level up and have different jobs that are worth more and more based on the kinds of tasks, but you got mentorship from someone who is senior, who has achieved the things that you want to achieve, who maybe is in your town that you meet with them regularly, that also is in association with the university that you attended. What would that be like to know that you had a coach, not just a personality, public figure, motivational coach, but somebody who has done everything that you want to do, that's several levels above. That is the model that we've been creating. And we've been super blessed to have hundreds of these young adults go through this program and find that it's better than, what does a college kid make? $10 an hour working at Chili's or whatever?
Yes, hopefully tips too, right?
Yeah. Logan, for example, the guy, let's see, I got pictures.
Other side, there you go.
Guys here, him and Zuckerberg, right? 3 years ago, he didn't know who this guy in the middle was. And now he's got interviews with him. Zuckerberg came up to him, wanted to take a photo. I think that's pretty cool. And it just shows that this thing is possible, and it's not a Tai Lopez kind of thing. Or look at my Lamborghini and these are the books in my garage. But it really is possible when you have a system in place of mentors. And that's why I have such respect for you guys, because you're training up the next generation of sales professionals. You guys are working with a bunch of young adults as well. And what we want to talk about today is how do you leverage that? How do you get your customers, get young adults, get all these other people to do the work for you, right? I don't do any selling. I don't knock on doors. Are you kidding?
I love that. I love
you
that.
don't go on like, let's get on the phone and talk for an hour and you can lay out all the things that you do. Never. You want to talk? You have to pay in advance. It's $1,500 for an hour.
There we go. I like that. Dennis, one thing you said that really stuck out to me is that kids who've never been there before, they don't have the mentors, they don't have the role models, and they don't have the references yet. Having that connection to be able to borrow those references and beliefs from somebody else is, that's what a mentor-mentee relationship is all about. And that's huge in the behavioral transformation process. So yeah. I really see why there's, you really have so much leverage in what you're doing over there. So man, I don't want to waste any more time here. Dennis, I want to get into these 7 ways that customers can do the selling for you, because I don't want to do any more selling either. I want to relax a little bit. Let them do it for me, Dennis.
Yeah, well, no one wants to be sold to, right? Do you click on ads? Last I checked, you don't want to sit there and willingly listen to sales pitches, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah. How many times do you get called per day? I probably have 3 robocalls and telemarketing calls every day.
I get 2 to 3 autos for sure.
And LinkedIn, I probably get 7 or 8 of these requests, right? I don't even want to accept friend requests from certain countries because I know it's going to be one of those ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
So the first one is interview your customers. And that is not a testimonial. That is not them saying, oh, well, Chris and Rick are so awesome. I would definitely buy their products and services. It's you're interviewing them as if you are a journalist. You are factually collecting information. You're making it about them. They're explaining their techniques. If they happen to mention your company, that's great because that generates authority. Who would you trust more? A salesperson or a journalist?
A journalist.
Right. What happens when I was on CNN last month, right? In front of several million people live talking about this whole Facebook thing. Really kind of scary because live TV, you can't rewind the thing. You can't say, let me ask that. Can you ask the question again? But when CNN calls and they have a hot story and they need to talk to you now, are you going to respond?
Yeah.
USA Today calls, right? The LA Times, they call. Are you going to respond to that?
Heck yeah, you're going to move.
Yeah. And I flew my ass all the way to Atlanta to their studios. It was that important. I hopped on the next flight. I was out there, right? Of course, I'm not going to miss that opportunity.
Sure.
Now imagine that you're not CNN, but you're another company and you're trying to drive sales. And you say, hi, I'm Chris. I'm the director of sales for this other company. Can we get on the phone? Are you going to be as excited? Are you going to, hop on the next flight and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe I get to spend some time with, Chris and Rick? And you're not going to do that.
No, I'm doing whatever I can to get you off my phone.
Right. So when you shift that perception, everything that we do to drive sales is about shifting that perception to maximize authority. So last week I was in Brazil, and Logan and I, we keynoted at 2 conferences and we taught a couple workshops. And it's kind of neat because we got there about 5 minutes before we were supposed to be on stage, which caused the organizer to kind of freak out, like, oh my goodness, the opening keynote's not there. Where are they? And we're there trying to get through. But the people who, they were speaking Portuguese, and I apologize because I know you're supposed to speak the language there. They're not supposed to speak English. If they're here in the US, they have to speak English, but like they couldn't seem to get our badges done properly. And we're pointing at the poster saying, that's me. You see that picture, that big like poster? That's me. I'm speaking on stage. And he wanted to like look me up and print a badge. And we just walked past all that through the exhibit hall, which is this massive hall of thousands of people. You guys know what trade show booths look like.
Yes, sir.
And then on to stage to speak, right? Just in time. They're actually running 10 minutes late. So it actually worked out pretty well. Pretty much stuff in Latin America, they run late. So it's okay.
Yeah, Latin time for sure. I lived in Miami for 7 years. It's real.
I was thinking, man, there are hundreds, if not thousands of salespeople there on the exhibit hall floor, all trying to get people to come to their booth. And as random people walk by, they're having to repeat their pitch over and over again. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you don't even want to get your badge scanned by these people because you know it means they're going to just keep calling you all day, right?
Calling and asking for business.
Meanwhile, we're getting mic'd up. We walk onto stage. There's 1,000 people in the audience, and they're paying attention, rapt attention. They paid money to come to these sessions and learn. Now, who are you going to trust more? The guy you paid money to go to a conference, and you see someone like me speak on stage authoritatively about how do you do Facebook marketing, or about how do you analyze whatever, your website, or how do you drive sales using Facebook ads, or some dude at a booth.
Even if I didn't hear you speak, Dennis, I'm going to you first.
Why?
Authority.
Right.
Someone else gave it to you already, and I assume you got it.
So does this have authority? Logan and Mark Zuckerberg? Okay.
Yeah.
So prior, I think we talked about it last time, but it wasn't recorded, but prior to having his Mark Zuckerberg moment and being on CNN too, he was $500 for an ads audit, for him to log into your ads account, analyze it, make some tweaks, have a phone call, record it, talk about it. It's $500, right? Good deal. Mm-hmm. After this, doubled the price to $1,000, right? And he's getting more of these bookings at a higher rate, and the customers are happier. Do you think his skill has improved in the last month, you think? 2 months or however many months?
Not enough to equal the amount his income is, but I imagine it is improving as well throughout the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all because you have someone else doing the work for you. So when you speak on stage and all these people come to you, right? The whole point of authority is to get them to come to you. Mm-hmm. When you're on another podcast and you have someone else's audience, those are people that have come to you. When you interview a customer and you are actually trying to get knowledge, you're not trying to sell, you're trying to elevate them and make them look good because of what they've done. And that knowledge goes into a checklist of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And other people say, oh my goodness, that was all value. I'm going to implement that same checklist of how to do something 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like a recipe, right? You ever watch cooking shows? Do you like Bobby Flay or Rachel Ray, or
I'm more of an Emerald Lagasse, bam guy.
Bam. That's right. Extra virgin olive oil and all that, right? Now, people watch that. You watch that for entertainment, but I bet you're not watching him in the kitchen while he's like doing things and you're trying to replicate his recipe as he's doing. You're watching it for entertainment, but you're learning. But at the same time, he has a restaurant. He has a line of different frozen food products, right? He's actually selling at the same time, which is genius. And so the best selling is when people don't realize they're being sold to, when it's entertainment, when it's education, when it's an article, when you're teaching, when you're interviewing other people, when it's a podcast, when there's any kind of content production that doesn't sound like it's a salesperson. And so as long as you don't have that nasty whiff of sales, then people will treat you with respect. And that goes back to authority, right? There's three components of authority. Most people don't know it. Like, oh yeah, if you're, I'm not going to get on CNN, so it doesn't work for me. No, you don't have to. You don't have to be on, NPR or whatever. I've been on all these, so I can tell you about it. But you don't have to have that in order to have authority to have people come to you, because there's people, place, and proof. So the people are who's in your network. Who are you hanging out with on LinkedIn? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So who are the people that have authority where their audience, that people respect them? Whoever you want to buy, the customers that you want to reach, who are the people they respect? Hang out with those people. Make a list of those 5 people right now. Do you know who they are? Most people, they don't. Most people I know that want to sell, they're not actively, yes, they're out there networking, like handing out business cards, like the Mexicans in Las Vegas with the hookers. But you know what I'm talking about?
I'm very familiar. They slap them.
Yeah. And now they have these backpacks with signs. They're all lit up. And they have all these different ways of trying to distract you, right? I'm talking about actually networking. I'm talking about intentionally figuring out who are the 5 people that are most influential in your vertical. So for us doing Facebook ads, it's going to be this guy in the middle, right? Of course.
Absolutely.
And there's other people that are like that too, that are already part of Logan's topic wheel and my topic wheel, the network of all the people that we know and the topics that we want to be associated with, right? So that's the people. The place is where you say it. So we have Logan on the Social Media Examiner blog. We have Logan on CNN. We have Logan on high-power websites. We have Logan speaking on big stages. So the place, where it's being said matters, right? There's who's saying it, who you're with, and where it's being said. Could be a blog, could be, a trade show, could like anywhere that people can see stuff. Could be an email newsletter, right? And the third thing is the proof. And the proof is, do you have a checklist of how you're getting stuff done to demonstrate your knowledge? And I've done this multiple times. Like we could ask Rick, hey, Rick, what are you expert in? And maybe he'll list 3 or 4 topics. And then we'll drill into those topics and say, okay, can you produce checklists 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of exactly how you get something done? Because if you can't, then you don't actually have deep expertise. True expertise requires that you should be able to assemble a checklist.
They're taking something complex and making it simple.
And then you have multiple checklists, one for each situation, right? So we have hundreds of checklists for every kind of situation in digital, like the landing page isn't converting, or how we prepare for a webinar, or what happens when we build a new chatbot messenger campaign, or how we resolve a customer complaint, or how we price a product, or how we do what we have checklists on all that kind of stuff, which is proof of expertise, which is that education that you need to show. If you're in sales, whether it's a product or a service, there's always knowledge around that. Some people call it consultative selling. You can always package that into a checklist. And some people say, oh, but if I'm a consultant, I don't want to give away my knowledge because then people don't want to hire me. Oh, no, it works the other way around. We publish books, right? And the more we publish, the more people want us to do it for them.
I love this. These prove, we call them our models at NASP, our foundational models. I think, I don't know if you've read Ray Dalio's book, Principles.
Oh, yeah. Principles, fantastic.
Right? And
I'm a big fan of the DOT system.
Yeah, exactly. So this is very, very similar, just a little bit different style in a way that really relates a lot to the digital media world in which you operate in. I like it.
Yeah. And then the final punch to wrap a bow on this whole thing on inception, which is, creating authority and not looking like you're selling, is give yourself a title that does not sound like sales. So not biz dev, not sales executive, not account manager, not customer success partner, not anything that's like, I know that's actually sales.
He's calling us out, Rick.
It's even in the name of this thing, NASP. I mean, you can be a sales professional, but my title is Chief Technology Officer. I'm a legit engineer, right? I was in engineering at Yahoo. I built some big systems, right? So I have the technical chops, but I'm actually the head of sales because I close the big deals.
Never see him coming
in our company. But the thing is, when they come to you and they've seen that you are authoritative because of the people that you're hanging out with, because of the clients and the proof that you served. For example, we have case studies on Facebook's site that Facebook's promoted and talked about, which is great. So we let them do the selling for us. And we publish all these checklists. Then we call it the emergency room model, right? So is there any selling going on in the emergency room with the emergency room doctors and the nurses? You walk in there, you got a heart attack, gunshot wound, you're about to die. Do they need to sell you on the surgery?
Problem needs a solution. Go.
Do you haggle on the price? When they tell you that heart surgery is going to cost $250,000, do you haggle on the price?
Rick might negotiate. I can't say that I would.
Do you even know the price at that point? You're like, no, get me in the room.
No, you have trust. You have urgency. Some people call it BANT, right? Budget, authority, need, timing, right? And it's the same thing in sales. If you're going to attract inbound, and this is where salespeople love to argue with me, but I'm right and they're wrong. If you have inbound, would you not agree that inbound is better when they come to you already like urgently wanting to hire you? Oh, I talked to a friend. I need this thing right now. I'll just like tell me what we need to do. I'm ready to pay. Right?
There's no question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That versus, I'm doing some shopping around versus you and like 5 other guys. Can you tell me why you're better? And can we have a 1-hour free call where you tell me all the things that you do?
And let me call you 5 more times in the next 3 weeks to let you know what price I'm getting to see if you can beat it.
And then let me disrespect you by not showing up to the meeting. And then maybe the first meeting I didn't really pay attention because I was picking my nose. But then I got to bring in this other person who's actually the decision maker. So we need to have the call all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you throw in this other stuff for free? Because this other, my cousin builds websites and he said he could build it for cheaper. So can you do it at the price that he wants?
It doesn't happen when you're an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people buy unquestioning.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's not that we're manipulating them, because if we took advantage of people, the same thing would multiply against us to our disadvantage, because then people would find out, oh, they're charlatans.
You're influencing people to make decisions that are decisions they need to make for their own reasons.
And so we call that the emergency room.
We call that real sales. I love that.
The emergency room has 3 components, right? There is the collection of the vitals, which is the x-ray and the blood and all the kind of things you got to collect data. 2 is the analysis, which is the diagnostics, which is we're going to put it up on the screen. Oh, it looks like, Chris, you got a broken bone. It looks like, according to your blood, you're low on iron, whatever it might be. And then the treatment plan is the action. That's the recommendation. This is okay. Now, based on all this, we've determined that you have this kind of disease, and we're going to do this kind of surgery. It's going to be this long, and you're going to be in the hospital taking these drugs, and it's going to be this. You add it all up, and this is the price.
Mm-hmm.
And are you going to say, well, I don't want to do this. I want you to use this scalpel versus that scalpel. And you know what? I don't want you to use this procedure. I think you should use this procedure in doing the heart operation. They trust you as the expert.
Absolutely.
So if you say this is what it is, they're not going to come at you and say, well, I know, doctor, you said that it is that I have a heart attack, but what I really want is just a massage. I think if you just give me a massage, it'd probably be okay. Yeah. Just, you know what? Just give me some painkillers. I'm on a budget. Just give me some painkillers and I think I'll be all right.
Just kiss the boo-boo. Everything's going to be fine.
So there's no need to justify the price. And we see a lot of salespeople that will say, oh, you need to justify the value. You need to build the value. That's when you have the price objection. If you set up everything in the right way from authority, you never ever need to build the value and overcome a price objection.
The value is the certainty they get in working with the expert.
The very fact that they already walked into the emergency room means that they're qualified. We've seen some people basically walk into our virtual emergency room, even somebody today, saying, hey, I'd love to get on the phone, and why don't you walk me through all the different services that you have? And we politely said, sorry, we don't do that. Oh, can you give us also the phone numbers of 3 other customers that you have so I can talk to them? So you want to talk to the CMOs of 3 Fortune 500 companies. Why would I do that for you? You're not even a customer. I don't even know who you are, right? What you can do, and we gave them a list of all the links of articles that we've written, of where we've taken the head of digital from the Golden State Warriors, the basketball team. And a lot of people don't know that it's a basketball team, but they're the NBA championship winning basketball team. They're arguably the top team in sports right now. Yeah. And I took the head of digital and I flew him out to Norway to keynote at a stadium in front of thousands of people. So he and I keynoted together, and we got the video off of that. And then when you have them on stage singing your praises, all we have to do is share that out. I don't even need to say anything, right? Say, don't take my word for it. Here's our processes. If you want to know how we do it, here's our processes. Go ahead and review them. Here are all the customers. They've already said all this kind of stuff publicly, so you can go review all of it to your leisure. And you can decide based on that. You want to do it yourself. So I intentionally will try to throw the conversation by being hard to get, by saying, you can go ahead and do it yourself. Here it is. Here's all our checklists. Here's all the code. Here's our processes. Go ahead.
Call that a D frame on this side.
Go ahead.
Good old-fashioned takeaway.
And then sometimes at the bigger companies, like Papa John's has done this to us a couple times. They're people like, yeah, wow, we've got all their training. We don't need to hire them. And then they start to implement it, and they find it works. But then they get to a certain point where, oh my goodness, I had no idea that you could do this. And then this other thing we don't understand. It's way too complicated. And they realize, holy moly, I had no idea there was all this depth. We really need to get some help now. Mm-hmm. We want them to go in, and we want them to see how far they can go.
Yeah. Now you got that benchmark. Yeah. And now they really will truly see and appreciate your value.
All day.
Dennis, I love this, man. This is all beautiful, beautiful stuff. But I want to make sure that we cover our 7. You're giving us all this free, beautiful value. Make sure that we got our 7 here, buddy.
Yep. We've got interviews.
I love how you give value. This is very aligned with who we are, because you talked about it too with the checklist.
Yeah.
Look, here's all the steps. Go ahead, please take them. The reason why you bring us on is because you know that we can support you to get the results that you want, and you already know these are the steps that you need to take because they're obvious and intuitive, and because you came to us as the expert. Really, really, really great advice there. So let's make sure we got it. So number 1, we've got interview customers.
Interviews, speaking, podcasts, articles, guides, consulting, books, training. They're all the same thing. I like to think of it as Mexican food. Do you like to eat Mexican food?
Come on, man. I live in Austin.
Heck yeah.
I love Mexican food.
Actually, I'm going to be in Austin next month. We should go do, was it Torchy's Tacos or whoever?
Yeah, man. Definitely. Look me up for sure.
Some people don't like Torchy's. Whatever. I'm happy with any of it. Man. Okay. So, the analogy with Mexican food as it relates to content marketing is you have beans, cheese, rice, meat, and you can recombine it into a taco, a tostada, an enchilada, a chalupa,
a burrito, quesadilla.
What's the fried burrito? Chimichanga? I don't know, whatever it's. Right? Yeah. So anyway, it's the same ingredients, but you just rearrange it into different shapes. And now all of a sudden you've got 100 items on the menu, right?
Absolutely.
Which is like 7 ingredients, basically.
Okay. I love it.
So this is what we want to do with our content.
Makes sense.
Some people, most salespeople I know, they suck when it comes to writing. Okay, they want to be out there in person. I'm a people person. I don't want to write. Okay, fine. Then your content production is going to center around meeting people in person and talking to them as you normally do, and sending those videos over to the virtual assistants in the Philippines for $2 or $3 an hour, where they transcribe that stuff and turn it into articles. They turn it into a book. They turn it into a website with all these how-tos. You rearrange it into a listicle, the top 10 ways on how to whatever it is, right? From all your different interviews, you can build so many different combinations of listicles, right? And other people go the other way. Like I'm old-fashioned because I'm over 40. I'm kind of old in the world of digital marketing. And I like to write. I just prefer writing. This whole podcast video thing is not really my deal, you know? I'm not the kind of person who want to show my face. I'd rather just write. And what I'll do is I'll write. And then other people will take that and they will turn it into videos. You ever watch the TV news? You ever, like maybe when you're like eating dinner or in the morning, you're making breakfast and you turn the TV on and there's people that are reading the news to you, basically.
Basically,
right? Basically it's an attractive guy and an attractive girl and they're reading. They're looking in the teleprompter and they're reading, oh, this morning there was a fire at this place. An animal escaped the zoo. It's going to be hot today. You know, whatever's going on, right?
Yeah.
Now, you could just read, if you could get a hold of the script, you could read that thing in like 2 minutes instead of them taking 20 minutes to read it to you, like you're illiterate or something, right?
Right.
And for me, I recognize that people learn different ways, right? Some people like to read. Some people like to watch the video. Some people like to have someone sit down and show them. And when you're with your customers, you have to recognize that too. And recognize also your favorite way of producing content. So I like to write content because I love to read books and therefore I love to write too. So what I'll do is I will write guides out step by step. And then we have other people. We literally have professionally trained actors with degrees in acting take our checklists and turn them into videos. It's like I'm a what are these people called? Screenwriters. They write the scripts, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm a screenwriter. So you will see, if you watch some of the videos of our other people, you will see some of those are word for word what I wrote as a script. And they speak it. You can go both ways, right? I'm talking about right now going from text to video snippets. You can go from video to text. But the point is you can recycle this into Mexican food.
Love it.
Tostada, taco, enchilada, chalupa, chimichanga, all that.
Love it. The Mexican food analogy to content.
Yeah.
More
and that's how you take one great asset and you multiply it over and over again. This is the one thing that will blow people's minds. If you understand the idea of the Mexican food analogy and authority, the 3 components of authority, and how powerful it is to have someone else do the work for you, right? If you understand that, what we just talked about, then what you do is this. You take that content and all the different variations that it has, and you post it on LinkedIn and on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook and on Instagram and on your blog and in your, company brochures, whatever. You share that everywhere. Video to text, text to video, audio. You can transcribe this podcast we're on right now and turn it into a blog post. You see what I'm talking about. Yeah. You take that and then you boost it for $1 a day on Facebook. So if you post that on your company page, if you post that on your public figure page and you boost it to the audience that you know you're trying to sell to, or boosting it to the media, because you can target by where people work and their job title. You can do that on LinkedIn too. There's some new ads coming out on LinkedIn that we're not allowed to talk about, but I think they should come out sometime next year, that you'll see ads that inject people's faces and names and job titles. You'll start to see them come out on the right side. I've seen them come out, and we're trying to get our hands on a bit more functionality, but imagine the kind of personalization that we've been talking about, where you're sharing content that's super relevant to them, where it looks like a recommendation, but it technically is an advertisement because you're paying to distribute it. But we call it social postage. So right. You put a postage stamp on a letter you're sending. Is that an advertisement? No, you're just paying for postage. And we view it this way too, where if you're sending messages, you want people to see your stuff on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, you're just paying for distribution, right?
Absolutely.
So if you got that high authority content, boost it out there for $1 a day. We have posts where it'll be, one of our guys keynoting at a conference or interviewing the head of social media for MGM Resorts, or, somebody famous, something authoritative, or, Mark Zuckerberg talking about our case study with Rosetta Stone, the language, software company. Mm-hmm. And we take that, and these posts, some of these are years old, and they continue. to spend $1 a day. But of course, we put out thousands of them, and 90% of our posts fail. But the ones that win, we just keep putting more money on it. And those, Logan has a blog post called, I have 602 sales reps working for me right now. And people will read that and say, holy moly, that's a huge sales team. I wonder what his salary, how much he's got to pay in salaries and commissions. And the joke is, if you read the article, and some people didn't read it and they get all mad, like, I can't believe you're abusing these people. Because it says, I have 602 sales reps working for me, each making $1 a day. And what's going on is each of those is an ad. And it's doing targeting. It's like an ADR, basically.
I love it.
And each of them is doing the work and driving more inbound sales because it's sharing components of authority. So we have hundreds, well, actually we have thousands. We have thousands of pieces of content that we're out there boosting, generating leads for us. And only when they're ready, when they walk into the emergency room, is when we talk to them. We're not going to talk to them before then. They're not ready. That's like, picking tomatoes when they're still green. Well, why would you do that?
I love it. It's the posturing, right? You completely avoid any superior posturing, somebody coming, oh, you need my business type thing. They automatically come in at a inferior or equal posturing, which means that they're in a place to receive the guidance that they're looking for.
They have to walk into the emergency room. Imagine you walked into the emergency room and said, I want you to line up every single doctor in front of me right now, and every one of the doctors can tell me what they do. Can we just have a 1-hour call with all your doctors?
Just real quick.
To which you say, yeah, if I'm the person running the emergency room, I'm going to say, sir, thank you very much, but we're busy operating on patients that are in critical need. Come back if you're actually ill, and we'll take care of you. Right? Banned. Clear need, right?
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense, Dennis. I like it. I'm a big fan of the Mexican food analogy. It makes complete sense too, to repackaging your content. I read recently that somewhere between, I've read it a couple different stats, that somewhere between 50 and 70% of C-level executives prefer video content over written content. And seeing this shift right now, well, you don't know if somebody's going to prefer to grab that video or prefer to grab that article and read it, right? One or the other. But if you've got different pieces and resources out there, you're going to grab them in whatever which way they want to absorb that content. Yeah. Really great stuff, Dennis. So I love that our 7 ways are really our 7 ways are Mexican food, aren't they?
Yeah, well, it's about time to eat. So
yeah,
I'm thinking about cooking. Yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic, Dennis. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate all the extra little tidbits you gave us today, man. Our audience is really going to dig this, and I'm sure Rick's kind of chomping at the bit. He just got back from HubSpot inbound, so
nice.
I'm sure all this stuff is really hitting him firing as well. Dennis, before we go, could you please tell our listeners where they can continue to learn and follow from you and Blitz Metrics?
The best thing to do is to follow me on LinkedIn. Make a connection request on LinkedIn. I'm at only 16,000 connections. I think the limit's like 30. Do not friend me on Facebook. There's a 5,000 friend limit that I hit many years ago, and I have no more room for friend requests. You can friend me on Facebook if we've met in person and you actually are a friend, like someone I would want to have dinner with without being paid for it, right? Connect with me on LinkedIn. You could even shoot me an email, dennis@blitzmetrics.com.
I like that. So start at LinkedIn and work your way up to Facebook.
Just look for me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, Dennis, thank you so much for your time. This has really been awesome, and really looking forward to our future relationship and just the future follow you guys always provide. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chris. Rick.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
All right. That leads to growth, y'all. We'll see you again on the next one. Cheers.